Hi there, my name is Kev Johnson. I'm a Senior Systems Engineer at Runecast Solutions. I'm just going to take you through a very brief introduction to what we do at Runecast Solutions, and in particular, an introduction to Runecast Analyzer. So just to kind of set the story a little bit, this is these folks here that you can see on screen are the founders of Runecast, and so they were all working together at IBM in the Center of Excellence in Brno, looking after all of the IBM VMware managed service customers. And whenever there was a problem, as you can imagine, there was always like a post-mortem. You had to do the root cause analysis, find out what the problem was, and then once you'd found out what that problem was, the next thing you have to do is make sure it's not going to whack any of the other customer environments as well. And what they discovered while they were doing this is that 90% of the problems, the causes for these outages, these performance problems, these security issues, they're already documented. Now there's 28,000, well, in fact it's over 28,000 now, knowledge base articles published in the English language, and nobody's going to read these until they get hit with a problem. That was kind of the issue. Nobody's using these resources proactively, so they thought, why not, what if we could build a tool that could take all of these sources of data, things like the knowledge base, things like best practices, and we could take those and we could automatically scan our environments against those sources of data and show where our exposure to risk is. So they built this tool, and this tool is Runecast Analyzer. So some of the typical problems that we see within the software-defined data center as people are running their running their businesses on platforms like VMware, but not just VMware anymore. So we've extended a lot of capabilities into the likes of Kubernetes, the AWS public cloud, and some other things as well. So I'll talk about that more in later sessions. So please do come back and watch those videos as well. But things that we're helping with are making sure that you're going to be compliant with all of these best practices, or making sure that you have no risk in your environment. You don't want to find out that you've got a risk of purple screen of death that takes down one host and then takes down another host and another host and another host, like dominoes. So we can show you where your exposure is, so you can deal with these problems before they happen. There's also a massive amount of logs, and making sense out of those logs, being able to find the value in those logs. And again, those logs often are highlighting risks in your environment or problems in your environment, so we can help with those kind of things as well. Finally, down there at the bottom, we mentioned the VMware hardware compatibility list. And I've got a whole other session dedicated to talking about that. But it's really important to understand that the HCL is, it's vital. You need to make sure if you're running production workloads, you're compliant with that hardware compatibility list. So just to give you some kind of understanding as to what Runecast Analyzer is, over on the left-hand side here is our artificial intelligence assisted knowledge parser. And this is an AI that we built to monitor all of these different sources of data. So all of the different security standards that we're monitoring, the knowledge base, social media, because often, we see things that get cropped up on social media, bug reports, things like that, before there's even official documentation. So we can monitor these. When we can see that there's a problem, we can build rules that will highlight these risks until such a time when there's official documentation. We're monitoring things like the VMware security advisories, and again, industry best practices, the HCL, all of that kind of stuff. This AI is then going to build some machine-readable rules from that human-readable, unstructured data, and it pushes it down to this central repository. So the central repository is kind of where our experts live. So we've got a team of experts, experts in all kinds of fields. AWS, we've got folks who are focusing on Azure, we've got folks who are focusing on Kubernetes, on VMware, on NSX, all of these products. And this is where we validate these rules. So we validate the machine-built rules to make sure that they are actually doing what they're supposed to do, so we can make sure we don't have any false positives. From there, we push them down to the Runecast Analyzer appliance, which lives on premises. And this is kind of our secret sauce. We have a patent for the rules engine in here, and this rules engine allows us to build all of these different kinds of rules to check the problems that you're potentially going to get hit by. And so we're monitoring your vCenter servers, your NSX managers, your Horizon connection servers. We now have support for Kubernetes as well. So any form of Kubernetes that's upstream conformant with open source Kubernetes, we can provide insights into best practices, the CIS security guidelines, even if they're running in the cloud. So if you're running your Kubernetes workloads on what the AWS services, or the Google services, or the Azure services, we can still provide you with all of those best practices there. We just need access to that API server. And finally, we also have the capability to monitor your AWS public cloud services in line with best practices and a whole bunch of security standards, things like ISO 27001, GDPR, PCI DSS, etc. So a few key features. So in terms of the product itself, it's a virtual appliance. You download it from your customer portal, you deploy it on premises. It takes a few minutes to deploy. We think that you can go from downloading the appliance to actually having useful insights coming from your environment within 15 minutes. So yeah, get it deployed, and we can absolutely help there. I've covered most of these things already, so I'm not just going to read all of these out. You can obviously read them yourselves, because everyone's super smart here. One important thing to bear in mind there is that bottom one on the left-hand side. We are certified by VMware for VMware Cloud on AWS. So if you're running some workloads in VMware Cloud on AWS, from a Runecast Analyzer perspective, it's just another vCenter. So we can give you those same insights across your on-premises into your hybrid cloud as well. And a few other things. We've got a full RESTful API. We've got a vRealize orchestrator plugin that can really help to get you from where you are to where you need to be in a compliance perspective. vSphere Web Client plugin. So the vSphere Client plugin is there to give you those insights directly within the vSphere client. And yeah, the other 2 points. Firstly, it's super easy to use. You don't need to go on a training course to be able to get the benefits out of it. It's built by sysadmins for sysadmins, and I'm pretty terrible at picking up new software. And if I can do it in 5 minutes, anybody can. And finally, the last one is that it never uploads any data. So if you've got regulatory compliance or security policies that state, okay, right, well, you absolutely cannot be sending any data to cloud services, Runecast Analyzer is a really good fit for you. So what we do, everything, we have the download of the knowledge updates. They come down once a week. The application updates, typically once a month, we'll release new features. But all of that, you're downloading those. No data gets sent back out to any cloud services whatsoever. So all of the value that you get from Runecast Analyzer is within that appliance, within your data center, even if you're monitoring cloud services as well. We do have a cool feature that we introduced, when was it? Back in July, I think it was this year, which is called Enterprise Console. And we built this for a large multinational military organization, who I'm not allowed to name for obvious reasons. But their requirement was they have a lot of small deployed sites, but they wanted to have, they wanted to be able to get insights into what the state of play was with all of those sites from a central location. The other requirement that they had is those remote sites could go offline at any given point in time. The network connection could drop. So they needed to be able to monitor all of these from a central location. So we pull that data across using our REST APIs. This has been super popular with larger enterprises and also with managed service providers. So you just deploy Analyzer appliances wherever you want. And then from the Enterprise Console, which lives on premises, again, this is not a cloud service, all of that stuff can be accessed from that central location. That's a quick snapshot of what we have in the product. So that's a quick snapshot of the actual user interface. As you can see, it's pretty simple to use. If you're interested to learn more, I've got 2 more sessions today. They're both 10-minute sessions, just like this one. So please feel free to drop by and check those out as well. I'll be focusing on security and compliance in one, and also on HCL on the other. And on that note, thanks very much for your time. Hopefully we'll see you a bit later. But yeah, thanks very much.